For years, we've been dragged through the mud, waiting for our legendary franchise to finally break ground on a new, state-of-the-art home. But right now, the biggest insider in the entire NFL has just dropped a massive bombshell that changes absolutely everything we thought we knew. The clock has officially run out on Illinois, and the unthinkable reality of our team packing up and crossing state lines into Indiana is no longer just a wild rumor, it is a terrifyingly real possibility. Before we dive into this absolute madness, please smash that like button, share this video with every diehard fan you know, and hit subscribe so you never miss a breaking update. After half a decade of broken promises, endless waiting, and exhausting political games, are we really about to witness one of the most historic, foundational franchises in the National Football League abandon its home state entirely? It is enough to make your blood boil. If you have been following this saga, you are probably just as frustrated, exhausted, and incredibly impatient as I am. We just want this to end. We want a shovel in the ground, and we want our team to have the home it deserves. But instead of a celebration, we are staring down the barrel of an absolute nightmare scenario for Illinois loyalists. ESPN's Adam Schefter just set the entire sports world on fire with a report that is waking everybody up. The language he used is incredibly specific, and it is absolutely vital that we decode exactly what is happening here. According to Schefter's league sources, a final, concrete decision on the new stadium location is coming within the next few weeks. But here is the kicker, the part that should terrify local politicians. If Illinois does not immediately pass the necessary legislation to make Arlington Heights a reality, the team is heavily leaning toward packing their bags and heading to Indiana. Let that sink in for a moment. This is no longer just local gossip or frustrated fans venting on sports radio. The top insider in the game is broadcasting to the entire world that our front office has had enough. Schefter also confirmed what many of us sadly already suspected in our gut. Any lingering hopes of building a new palace within the city limits of Chicago are officially dead and buried. Sites right next to the iconic Soldier Field were completely dismissed due to a tangled web of political reasons. Furthermore, the heavily debated Michael Reese site was thoroughly evaluated and flat-out rejected by both the team's brass and the NFL itself. So, the city is out. The lakefront, as beautiful and nostalgic as it is, will not be the future of this franchise. And man, that hurts. Think about the history there. Think about the freezing, electrifying playoff games, the iconic skyline in the background, and the generations of fans who have walked those concourses. Leaving the city limits is a deeply emotional blow, but from a purely business standpoint, it has become an undeniable necessity. The harsh reality is that the team is leaving Chicago, and now we are down to a heavyweight, two-state battle, Arlington Heights versus Northwest Indiana. The immediate question screaming in everyone's mind right now is whether this Schefter report is the ultimate, masterful bluff by the front office, or if they are genuinely ready to leave Illinois in the rearview mirror. Are they just using the media to put a gun to the heads of Illinois lawmakers? Personally, I think we are way past the bluffing stage. You can only play your hand so many times before you just have to push all your chips to the center of the table and make a move. This organization expected the Arlington Heights deal to be a slam dunk last year. Instead, they have been met with a brick wall of tax uncertainties and bureaucratic foot-dragging. If you listen to George McCaskey and Kevin Warren speak at the recent owners' meetings, the sheer frustration dripping from their voices was unmistakable. They are completely fed up. They are bleeding money by the day as this process drags on, and they are tired of begging to spend their own billions. George McCaskey has the blood of the legendary George Halas flowing through his veins. He is a proud steward of a charter franchise, and you know deep down in his soul, he desperately wants to keep this team in Illinois. But he is also running a massive, modern sports empire. At some point, the emotion has to step aside for the math. Here is my question of the day for you all, and I need you to flood the comments right now because this is tearing the fanbase apart. If the front office actually pulls the trigger and moves the team to Indiana, will you still support them with the exact same passion, or does crossing that state border permanently cross a line for you? Let me know down below right now. Let us be brutally honest about why the Indiana threat is so incredibly real, and why it might actually be the smartest business decision on the table. While Illinois politicians have been dragging their feet and acting like they couldn't care less if the team stays or goes, the state of Indiana has rolled out the absolute reddest of red carpets. They are practically begging for this franchise to cross the border. They have already cleared the proposed site in Hammond from an environmental standpoint. Their legislators have swiftly passed whatever preliminary approvals are needed to prove they mean business. They are ready to play ball today, right this very second. Financially speaking, the Indiana deal is a monster. It is a vastly superior financial package compared to what Illinois is currently willing to offer. And let's talk about the geography, because this is where the debate gets really wild. For a massive chunk of the fanbase, moving to Northwest Indiana is actually a shorter, easier commute than trekking all the way out to Arlington Heights. Hammond is surprisingly close to the city. Yes, the logistics of the team's practice facility up in Lake Forest presents a totally bizarre geographical challenge if the stadium is in Indiana, but that is a solvable problem for an organization worth billions. The bottom line is that Indiana is a fully baked, ready-to-go, incredibly lucrative backup plan that is looking more like a primary option with every passing day. But then, we have to look at the dream scenario. The Arlington Heights property. We cannot forget that the organization dropped a massive fortune to buy over 300 acres of land there 5 years ago. 300 acres. Do you realize how massive that is? That is enough space to build an absolute paradise. We are not just talking about a state-of-the-art stadium with a roof. We are talking about an entire entertainment district. A sprawling, year-round destination packed with luxury hotels, high-end restaurants, interactive fan experiences, and retail spaces. It would be a football utopia that the McCaskey family would own and control outright. You cannot replicate that massive scale in Hammond. Indiana can offer a great stadium deal and surrounding amenities, but they cannot hand over 300 consecutive acres for the team to build an entire city. Furthermore, staying in Arlington Heights is the ultimate public relations victory. It honors the legacy of the franchise. It keeps the team in its rightful home state, and it satisfies the vast majority of the traditional fanbase who view a move to Indiana as an absolute tragedy. I truly believe that Kevin Warren and the front office are willing to leave some money on the table in Indiana if Illinois just meets them halfway. They want Arlington Heights. It is the superior, legacy-defining option. But they are not going to wait forever. We are rapidly approaching the absolute point of no return. The next legislative session in Illinois wraps up around the end of May. This feels like the final, definitive ultimatum. If the politicians in Springfield let another session come and go without passing the tax certainty and infrastructure support this project requires, I firmly believe the team will walk. Kevin Warren was brought in specifically to get this stadium built. He has been grinding on this for years now. He cannot afford to sit around and wait for another election cycle or another broken promise. I am planting my flag right here, right now. We are going to get a monumental, franchise-altering announcement before the very first day of training camp. This agonizing, years-long nightmare is finally coming to an end. I cannot confidently tell you which state will win the bid, because it truly feels like a coin flip at this exact moment. If Illinois finally wakes up, swallows their pride, and passes the necessary legislation in the coming weeks, then Arlington Heights is a 100% lock. But if they continue to play games and stonewall this organization, I am entirely convinced that there is a 95% chance we are going to be buying tickets for a stadium in Indiana. The ball is entirely in the court of the Illinois lawmakers. The front office has drawn their line in the sand. Adam Schefter has sounded the final alarm for the entire world to hear. The clock is ticking loudly, the patience has completely evaporated, and the future of our beloved franchise hangs entirely in the balance. Hang on tight, everyone, because the next few weeks are going to be an absolute roller coaster.